Hi guys, it's well, it's not Friday the 13th, but it's Wednesday the 13th of January, so only half unlucky tonight, and it's the beginning of a new year. Lawrie is still here, believe it or not, hasn't had a haircut, and I've got my COVID haircut. It's getting more and more long at the edges, so I hope we sort of get the hairdressers back soon, although I haven't got very much.
I do desperately need a haircut.
I offered to cut it for him, but he just wouldn't have it. I thought that would be such a great idea to cut Laurie's hair, but he wouldn't have it.
I'd rather use a lawnmower myself, put it that way. I'll
lawnmower you, Lawrie. A quick string across the top, you could become Friar Tuck within about 3 minutes. Guys, thank you for joining us. Sven, sorry you can't be with us tonight, but Sven has already given us €100, so every week he's in there with his €100. Thank you so much.
At least.
Lots of familiar faces in the chat tonight. We've got Sickly Alice, who is probably there somewhere. We've got Sickly Lou, who is probably there somewhere as well. We've got Lucy Kells in the chat, and more joining us every minute. So to anybody who's new, thank you for being with us tonight. We have this thing every 2 weeks, and we do have started this year, or started just the end of last year, to try to get people who are interested to call us in, and we'll actually do a bit of a live chat with someone later on. So if you'd like to be one of those people who come and do the live chat, send us an email to media@wildlifeaid.org.uk, and we will stack you all up and we'll pick you out of a hat if that's not too embarrassing to be done. And Laurie's hat's very small. In fact, we've got my top hat. I've got a top hat in Laurie's office.
It's massive.
It's massive. My head's not that big.
No, it comes down to about here on me.
Yeah, it actually makes Lorry look much better, much more photogenic when he's got the hat on.
It was bought specifically so that people weren't scared by my hideous visage.
Absolutely, and Abby's there, who hasn't worn the hat yet either. Whether she'll show her face tonight remains to be seen. If you pay enough money, she probably will. If you don't, she probably won't.
That's blackmail.
For anybody who's watching the holding card at the beginning of this broadcast, you would have seen lots of baby animals, baby birds, a baby badger, a baby fox cub. We're probably, if the truth be known, only about 6 to 8 weeks away from that all happening again. And the scary thing for us this year is we're very, very short on volunteers and staff. Sadly, don't all rush up to your phones, because you can't volunteer at the moment, I'm afraid, because of the COVID situation. We're being very strict on who we have in and how we do it, but we are very short of volunteers because some of our volunteers are elderly like me, and they're sort of at home just being very careful. Other volunteers have kids to look after and everything else, so it could be an interesting orphan season. It could be quite draining this year, and I think possibly the orphan season could well start earlier, because we really haven't had much of what I would call a true winter. We've had some cold days and we've had wet days and whatever, but we've even noticed, I was talking to a hedgehog expert actually earlier in the week, and not all hedgehogs have hibernated this year, and last year they didn't hibernate always last year as well. So you might find that the whole breeding cycle of animals has turned the corner a little bit. In fact, I heard our foxes, our local foxes, which we've got a lot around here, actually making those sort of interested noise and ready for you if you want me, way back in the middle of December. So we could see all those sort of things going on. And I've got one note on here, I'm probably preempting all Laurie's stuff now. I haven't had to get a word in edgeways yet, which is really great. And that is, we do get a lot of calls, and have had a lot of calls about foxes that have been joined together, tied together, super glued together. Guys, it is that time of year. That's how they mate. They get up and then they twist round and they lock together for not very long, possibly half an hour, and then they break away and off they go and have their babies in due course. So if you do see foxes together, I'm not saying ignore it, keep an eye on it, but it should be fine. Don't ring us up every 2 seconds saying, I've seen 2 foxes super glued together, because they probably haven't been. But there we are. Lawrie, I'm going to let you speak now because I'm running out of breath.
Well, hello everyone. And Happy New Year for those of you. We haven't seen you since 2020, so the first time we've been in 2021. We've been up to quite a lot over the past days and weeks, to be honest. So if we start off just in terms of patients, before we get onto the rescues, just a couple of the patients that we've had in. So the main one at this time of year is hedgehogs. So hedgehogs are probably our most common species at this time of year. They are overwintering. We do say now it's got colder here in the UK. If you do find a hedgehog that's out and it weighs less than 600 grams, it does need help. It may not survive the winter hibernation. So if you do see one and it is looking a bit small, I believe the general rule is the size of 2 tennis balls end to end is about 600 grams, but don't take it entirely as gospel. If you do see a small hedgehog, give it away, see if it's okay. If it's not, contact your local wildlife rescue, either ourselves if you're in Surrey, or if you use helpwildlife.co.uk. You can look up your local wildlife rescue, get in contact with them, and I'm sure they'll be more than happy to help you out. But we have quite a lot.
When Lawrie says give it away, he doesn't mean give it away to someone else. He actually means could you possibly weigh it. He's northern, you understand, doesn't quite speak like we do. So do weigh it. And if in doubt, give your local wildlife hospital a call. Lawrie, off you go again.
Yeah, so we get quite a lot at this time of year. We actually have capacity for more than 400 hedgehogs here at the centre. So luckily we've never hit that amount, but we do get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. They will spend until the spring with us, and they will manage to get their way through about 15,000 cans of dog food, which is quite remarkable. I'm not sure I could work my way through 15,000 cans of dog food, that's for sure. I'm not sure where you're looking.
Me?
Yeah, you just disappeared off camera for a second.
Because I was looking at somebody who was saying that their ponds overflowed and the hedgehog population is overflowed and the fish have joined the local river. So there it is. I was looking at the chat. I do apologize, Lawrie, I'm very sorry. I consider myself censured.
Would you like to keep on?
No, I'm quite happy. No, I'm quite happy with that. No, it wasn't something that needed an answer. We're not going to go rushing out rescuing their goldfish from the local river because rivers are flowing quite fast at the moment.
A few people have actually asked a few weeks ago, have we ever rescued fish? Yes,
we have.
We have on several occasions actually. The most memorable one is Nick, who sort of is our PR guy. Rescued 3 pike from a pond that had dried up, and they ended up being transferred off. But we've also had a goldfish that was dropped in someone's garden by a heron. There's been a few interesting ones over the years. Do you have any to memory, or is that all you can think of?
I don't. The only thing I can remember, when you say drop, we did have a little baby adder a few years ago now that was dropped on the 7th story floor of a car park, so right up very high, and we can only think it got there because something dropped it up there, because it wouldn't have climbed up all those stairs. Very strange. Little baby adder, quite cute it was.
Oh, I always like adders. You don't like adders particularly. Well, you do, but you don't like snakes. So.
They're not my favourite things. I don't know why, because I suppose they're not so cutesy. They're not, I don't know, but abroad I don't like snakes. Well, it's not that I don't like them, it's that I've no idea whether they're going to kill me or not. And in the UK you're pretty safe, because even if an adder bites you, you're not going to be in that much trouble. But if your dog does get bitten by a snake, do take it into the vet just in case, because dogs are a bit smaller than us. If a snake bit me, it would probably die of Bacardi poisoning. So, you know, safe for that. No, snakes, they're not really cute and cuddly, are they? But there we are.
Yes, I like snakes.
I'll rescue them all. I'll look after them all. We do what we do.
So other things that we've had in, obviously this little guy as well. For those of you who follow us on things like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, any of that, you'll have seen this one already. So this is a mangy fox. So mangy foxes are some of the most common things that we deal with in terms of fox issues here at the centre. It's caused by a parasitic mite, the Sarcoptes scabiei mite. It's really nasty, sort of crusty sores, intense itching, and they can actually itch a lot of their fur out. So this little guy is midway through, looks a bit crusty but still has a large chunk of fur. They can get a lot worse than this. They can get completely naked, but luckily it is completely treatable. This one is beyond the realms of what can be dealt with any of the homeopathic treatments that you can buy from various places. This one does actually need proper veterinary attention. So he's currently here receiving that one, but is coping quite well, and hopefully she will make a full recovery on that one. What else?
I'm just really worried that you sort of put that picture up, Lawrie, and Paul Murray was at the back and you said, here's a mangy fox. One would just like to state that the fox was at the front of the picture and Maru, our vet, was at the rear of the picture. Maru, we wouldn't call you a mangy fox. I wouldn't dare. I'd be terrified if I call you a mangy fox. I'd have to run away. Off you go, Lawrie.
I'm not getting involved with that.
You started
at
it.
all.
You started it. First you're giving hedgehogs away, and now you're being nasty to Maru.
See, this is what I have to deal with. This is what I have to deal with day in, day out. How am I still here? The other major patient we've had recently is this guy. So this is a female kestrel. She arrived with us with a broken wing. Luckily, it wasn't particularly displaced. So a break is displaced when the two fragments aren't lined up anymore, when one sort of overlaps the other. It wasn't particularly displaced and didn't need the orthopedic surgery that we would usually do on this style of break. And we could actually do it instead with a splint. So this is a special metal splint. It's sewn directly into the skin of the wing and holds everything nice and firmly in place. And you can see where that red circle is. That's a lovely callus that formed on there. And the bird, as I speak, is currently in one of our aviaries up at the top of the centre, flying around perfectly fine. And is hopefully going back for release soon. So amazing story on that one. It's been with us a little while, but she's making great progress. So hopefully she can head back to the skies soon.
Excellent. So, I mean, most of our veterinary work here, our serious veterinary work, is either bones, because, you know, wild animals come in with broken bones, or eyes. So it's either eyes or bones. So Maru has to be very proficient at both orthopedic surgery and ocular surgery as well, ophthalmic surgery I should say. So there are two specialities here, and she's been working really hard to bring herself up to speed on that over the early years, and now she just whizzes through them as if they're a piece of cake. So good old Maru can mend pretty much anything.
Other thing we've had, a bit of a rare patient here, and it's a bit of an odd name. This is a common gull. Maybe called a common gull. It's not particularly common here. The usual gulls that we get, the ones that everyone always calls seagulls, are herring gulls. And then the smaller ones, especially at this time of year, are black-headed gulls, like the one we rescued from line quite recently that you saw on YouTube, if you've seen that video. But we haven't had a common gull particularly here before. And this one arrived tangled in line. Unfortunately, it's something we've seen an awful lot of over the past couple of days and weeks. Most of the things that have come in have been caught in line, caught in fencing, caught in netting, causes massive amount of damage. And actually, it's one of 5 species of gulls that we have in the UK. So you'll often get here, especially on our videos, Simon gets a little bit angry when anyone says seagull. It's classified as a taboo word here. So seagulls in general are herring gulls, but they can also be black-headed gulls. We've also got things like common gulls and Glaucus gulls and Icelandic gulls, and there's a whole load of different ones. They can be quite tricky to distinguish between some of the species, but there's if you get a bird book, there's handy ID tips. Usually it's things like leg colour and beak colour and general size and things like that.
There's one other sort of gull, according to Lucy Kells, saying it's a pretty gull. Lucy's always been a bit strange. That's why we had to get rid of her, you know. Had to get rid of her. She was calling everything pretty gull.
Lucy, come back and help, please.
Yes, I need all the help I can get. She's really
scared. You're the only one that can keep up with Simon.
I think she's really scared that if she comes back now, I'm getting so old that she had to spend all the time wiping the dribble off my face and sort of walking me from A to B because I don't know where I'm going. I think that's why she left, actually. I think she was scared of how I was going to end up, sooner rather than later, actually.
Moving on. The other things we've had quite a lot of at the moment are robins. So robins, we get quite a few of them. They're not probably the most common garden bird species we deal with, but certainly over the Christmas period we had an awful lot of them. So a whole lot of things, various conditions. Some flew into windows, one was on a glue trap, one had sort of line around its legs and things like that. All of them have been doing really well, and as far as I'm aware we've only got one that's left on treatment at the centre at the moment. The rest have all gone back for release, but he's just gone into a larger aviary and should be released very soon as well. So best of luck to all of last year's robins, and we're looking forward to seeing what everything brings this year, to be honest.
Just scary that everything's going to start flooding in by probably, some of the stuff might come in middle of February, but by probably the middle of March it's going to be very scary. So to all our volunteers, bless you all for being with us, and I'm sorry that you're going to have to work triple or quadruple shifts to keep up with the sort of influx we've got. In fact, Mary said a very silly thing to me the other day. She said, "We're so quiet, I wish it would get busy." I should remind her of that. I should remind her of that in the middle of the orphan season, that just towards the end when she's pulling her hair out, that she said the words, not me.
It's actually the gestation of a fox is about 52 days-ish. So considering how early we were getting reports of breeding foxes, we could very well be looking at a February start to orphan season. We've had really early ones before. We've had ones at the end of January. Usually it's meant to be March, April is when you expect it to happen. But it's been getting earlier and earlier and earlier every year, and who knows when it's going to start this year.
Foxes, badgers, the lot will be coming in, so it's going to be
birds,
busy, guys.
Things like that. Yeah, it's going to be incredibly busy. In the busy season, we can deal with more than 80 new patients a day, and that's not including anything that's already here at the centre being treated. So 80 new things in addition to all that. So it can get absolutely manic, and especially at the moment when obviously the current situation is as it is. It's going to be an interesting one to try and cope with all of it this year.
Someone's just said on the chat, Lawrie, that you know, I keep saying I'm so old. They'd like to see a picture of me when I'm young. Well, sadly, guys, when I was young, we didn't even have cameras. There was no photography when I was young, way before the photographic era. So luckily, you're quite safe from
He invented the wheel.
I did.
Yeah.
I invented the wheel. It's square when I invented it. Never worked very well.
Yeah, it didn't work. It didn't work. You had someone else that carved it into the proper shape.
Yeah, that's the way it has to be.
Yeah,
so
still
guys,
not receiving royalties from that.
No, we're not receiving royalties for anything at all. What else be going on? Anything else exciting going on that I can think about? Oh, I'll tell you what we are doing. Just before Lorry, we took a breath to start talking there, and I cut him off in his prime. We are refurbing all our top ponds this year, so it's the wettest year ever, which is a bad time to do it. We've had to rip all our top nursery ponds to bits because they were blocking and they were getting dangerous and the volunteers were hurting themselves. So those all have been ripped apart. They are slowly being put together as we speak. This week they should hopefully be finished, the top ponds, and then we're going to take all the yuck and horrible stuff out of our big outside pond, because that hasn't been drained for about 5 years. I hate to think what's in there. There's probably some bodies of volunteers who left us and we wonder where they went. But so that's all being done. So that's, you know, it's an expense. We don't have many windows at WildlifeAid to actually do things because we need the cages and we need the ponds all the time. So that's all being done now. We're trying to do a little bit of decorating up at the top end of the centre. But yeah, it is manic, and we don't have very few weeks to get this sort of work done. So hopefully that will all be ready for orphan season, guys, and you can still have your tea and coffee and your seagulls. Don't say that word!
So obviously, in addition to the work here at the centre, there's been an awful lot of rescue work going on at the moment. So I just want to say a huge shout out to all of the rescue team that have been dealing with a lot of the collapsed foxes we're getting at the moment. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of those happening. So I'm not going to name names because I know I missed someone out and I don't want to do that. But you guys know who you are, so huge thank you for that one.
One particular volunteer I was watching, because Lorry and I also get the calls as well, so we can see what's going on at the centre. And on one day I look, oh, he's gone out for that. 5 minutes later, oh, he's got to go out for that one. He did 7, I think it was 7 call-outs on the trot. So
around
this
the
particular
county as well. It's a long
who knows
way.
who he is. Thank you very much, young. I use the term loosely. I say young man. I'm not sure I really mean young man, but you know, that's what our volunteers are like. We've got, as I say, Lorry says we've got 3 or 4 main volunteers who go out, seem to go out all the time. But bless you all, and any new volunteers who want to go out and do rescues, that's fine as well. Just come and see us. But yeah, it's very rewarding. Rescues are good because you know, you've got to work to get the animal in, and obviously the releases are absolutely amazing.
So, rescue-wise, and then I can see people in the chat are already preempting one of them that's going to be discussed. So, yes, that one will be brought up with. But actual rescues to start, we had another fallow just before the start of the new year. This guy, so this is a big male fallow, a buck or a stag, and he was caught in electrical fencing. So that's what you see all around those antlers. When we first arrived on site, he was actually very mobile, very agile. So this is a short clip of what we saw when we actually arrived on site. He was definitely not for hanging about, but luckily we did manage to catch him with the net and then with me on holding the legs, and Simon and Jacob up at the top managed to cut all of that lot away. Luckily he was absolutely fine, and once everything was cut away he could be sent back to the wild. But it's quite an interesting one because they are big beasts, those ones. You wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of one.
Is that video out there yet or not?
No, it's not out yet.
So anybody who sees that video, there was one comment from somebody in-house, because we ribboned all the stuff off because he was so fighting. We didn't want to hold him for too long. We cut through all the bits of the electric fencing. There was one very long bit, but I mean it was cut, so it was just hanging around his ankle. When he ran off, it was about, I don't know, 6 foot long, trailing behind him. Don't worry about it. It wasn't attached. It was loose, and he will just shake that off as he goes through the bushes. So we do know what we're doing, but it's always a balance of trying to get something done quickly before the animal gets too stressed, and try to get it out in a good state. So if you do see that long bit of electric fencing, I don't want anybody whinging at us that we hadn't cut it all off. We had, I promise.
The other one, obviously a lot of you will have seen this on YouTube, is the black-headed gull that was stuck in more than 20 meters of line. Massive amount of line on that one. So special thanks to Lewis from the RSPCA for all his help with that one as well. That's one of many animals we've dealt with recently that have been in line or fences or anything like that. We actually went out to a fox that was stuck in a fence yesterday. We've done a whole lot of other tangled ones recently. And just a brief update on this one. Jürgen, one of our volunteers, has actually gone back to where this gull was found, has waded out to that central island, and has spent a lot of time clearing the whole thing of line. So every single bit of line that was left there has been removed. So massive thank you to Jürgen. For those of you who are asking, everything is now clear, and he's going to keep an eye on that just to make sure something like that won't happen again.
Just shows it wasn't a very big lake really, and there was a lot of fishing going on, and when we got our boat back in, it actually had over 100 meters of line all wrapped around the prop, so we had to take all the propeller off and get all the line off. So that's the sort of damage that this line causes. And you know, if you're going for a walk and you see discarded fishing line, please just pick it up, put it in your pocket. It's what I call do an IDOT, which we'll probably talk about later on, is just do one thing a day to help wildlife, or help the planet, or help the environment, or help whatever. But you know, if you see stuff like that, pick it up, put it in your pocket, and put it away somewhere safely. Ideally, just cut it up into tiny little bits so it can't do any more damage in case you drop it. But that's the sort of trouble we have. So many animals get stuck in line, they get stuck in fences, they get stuck in electric fences. And as we've said so many times before, I reckon probably over 99.5% of our rescues are because of mankind. And if we hadn't been on the planet and we hadn't had all these fences and all these hazards, those animals wouldn't need help. So we owe the planet a lot, and IDOT, I think, is a great thing. If you go onto our IDOT page on the website, you will see how to do it. It is very simple. All we're doing is asking for everybody to do one thing a day. I do one thing. It might be picking up a bit of litter, it might be a bit of litter, you could say lettuce. It's just do one thing. It might be turning your tap off while you're cleaning your teeth. There's so many tiny little things you can do. And I actually, in my bath, just to test it out a few weeks ago, I actually ran my bath and I took out 5 litres of water in a jerry can, and the bath had gone down by about that much. I mean, tiny. It makes no difference, but it makes a huge difference to the planet. If everybody in the UK save 5 litres of water a day, you can work it out. There's 70 million people in the UK, if I'm right, I think. About 70 million people.
Approximately, yeah.
70 million times 5 litres a day is billions and billions of gallons of water. So like all these things, we've got to save everything. We've got to keep everything protected. So something like that, turning your tap off when you're cleaning your teeth, or when you're washing your hands, turn it off, turn it on again, makes a massive difference. We all think that we can't make a difference. All these problems are too big for us. You get, you know, all the celebs saying, you know, the planet's in a terrible state, it's up to us now, but they're not telling us how it's up to us or what we can do to help. So IDOT is really just giving you the starting point, the guide, if you like, to just do one thing a day, and then you can spread the word. If you tell your neighbours you're doing it, it will start to evolve its own speed, and hopefully the day we get up to 23 billion actions a year, which we could produce, if that's 24 billion now with our population, I would probably pass out in shock. But Lawrie hopes I'll be dead and gone by the time that happens.
That was a strange end to that.
I got, Lawrie, you've got to think. My brain goes all over the place. It's very, very, very weird. My brain. It's omnipotent.
You're just
Lawrie,
weird in general. I think it's not just your brain.
No, very weird. Lots of
On the
donations
note
coming
of
in.
IDOT as well, and just to, we've been working with a lot of local schools recently, including one which is ACS Cobham, who we've been working with them for probably about 6 weeks, and just to show what a difference doing one tiny action can make, the pupils there were doing one action, making sure that they just did one thing like pick up a bit of litter or turn off a tap whilst they're brushing their teeth, or all of those ones, and amazingly over that 6-week period they did 1,498 different IDOTs. So for those of you who are saying, oh, just picking up a bit of litter, it won't do anything, just this small class of people, I believe it's 90 students on there, over the 6 weeks, almost 1,500 actions, and no one can say that doesn't make a difference. So huge thank you and congratulations to those guys. And if you do want to get involved in our IDOT scheme, we have a lot of resources for schools, and we're working a lot with schools to sort of integrate this within the curriculum. Please get in touch with us. So it's contact@idot-waf.org.uk. We'll leave that email down in the comments on Facebook and on YouTube. So if you do want to get in touch with us, please drop us a line and we'll see what we can do.
And that really is schools everywhere. Obviously, schools in the UK, please send us an email. Please say you'd like to get involved, because we will communicate with you and get you going. But it would be great if this went worldwide. Just imagine if everybody in every country started to do IDOTs. There's so many actions there, you couldn't even work it out, because it'd be the world population times 365, and I don't think I can work out how many noughts that is. Lawrie will try and spend the next hour trying to work out how it is. Thank you. We've got lots more money coming in, Lawrie. We've got all sorts of numbers coming in while I'm looking at the screen, so thank you for that as well.
Yeah, so huge thank you. We'll start obviously with Sven, who unfortunately couldn't be with us today, but has given €100 already, so huge thank you to Sven. Again, he's probably more famous than we are now, but huge thank you for you, mate. Pernilla Bergs donated 100 Swedish krona, so thank you very much. Anthony Thurival, donated £4.99 and has put the first £4.99 of the Simon Holiday Fund for 2021.
Yeehaw!
That will probably be all it's needing, considering we're not allowed to travel anywhere at the moment. Adam Warner, the husband of the person that sat over here, has donated £10. So huge thank you to you, as always, Adam.
What happened to the $9.99? What happened to $9.99?
Oh, we're in 2021 now. The penny's been added.
It's gone up there. I'm going to make my secret phone call, Lawrie. While you're chatting for a minute, I'm going to make my secret phone call.
Okay. So the Warren has donated €25. Has put, let's get started on the 2021 Simon Manatee Fund. So you're going to manatees in 2021.
I love manatees.
Behoy, I hope that's right, has donated €5 as well, so huge thank you there. Ayada has donated $10 Canadian and has put, love your work, wondering what happened to the baby swan in Wildlife SOS Online episode some years ago that had a beak operation. So he actually left us and ended up going to another wildlife rescue centre to be with other swans, needed swans to help in his development. So that's what happened with Wonky Beak.
And the nurse at Lorry, the nurse at the time, who was at the centre, is probably on the telephone as we speak. So here we go. This is Lorry and I saying, "Come in, Lucy Kells. The time is yours."
Hello.
Okay, bye, Lucy. Thank you for the call. Bye bye. We'll speak to you later.
See you later. Bye.
Oh dear, she's gone again. Lucy's a bit like that. You never know where she is next. So Lucy, what's your last few months been doing apart from isolating?
Oh, very strange. I mean, we're more isolated than most, I think, because we're actually what you call full-timing in a motorhome. We've actually got an American RV, and normally at this time of year we're in Portugal like we were last year, but obviously this year we're in a field in the UK. So yeah, not seeing anybody, very, very isolated. Seeing a lot of wildlife though, which is absolutely lovely. Loads and loads of birds. We've seen fallow deer, roe deer, muntjac. I saw a fox this morning as well, so that side of it's really nice.
So are you actually making them better, Kels, or are you just sitting there looking at them?
I'm helping support feed the birds.
Okay.
I know it's that time of year where they're all struggling. It's cold and rotten, so we've got sort of 4 or 5 feeders up for them. We started with 1 or 2 birds. We now get sort of 50 or 60 birds visiting a day. It soon picks up. But yeah, no, not had to do any sort of nursery stuff. I actually did recently. I found what I thought was some kind of bee on the car, and it turns out it was actually a horsefly.
Oh, God, Kels, honestly, you should know better.
I warmed up and fed and cared for a horsefly overnight and then released it the next day.
Oh, dear. Are you support feeding Sean as well?
Yeah, doing that too.
I mean, if he's like me now, he finds it very hard to, A, find the mouth to put the food in, but B, to keep it in there when it gets in there. So I hope you're looking after him.
Getting on a bit here now, so
Ooh.
yeah.
Oh, you're so in so much trouble. So, what are your plans for this year? If you get a chance to get away, are you going back to Spain, or are you going to do anything exciting?
No, I think, because we originally wanted to go to Portugal just for 3 or 4 months last year, and that turned into, with COVID, all the changes to travel, that turned to 8 months. So because of that, we just don't risk it this year. We just think it's safer to stay put. So we're just more isolated than most in the field by ourselves, and we're just going to stay away and wait until all this is calmed down a little bit. And obviously Brexit, we won't mention the B word, but a bit of uncertainty with that as well. So it's going to be a UK winter for us this year.
So when you can travel a bit, you could always come and put your RV in our new Wildlife Aid Foundation site, which is pretty empty at the moment, and you could volunteer here because that's just up the road. What better way?
Well, we were going to come and see you, weren't we? And then we went into a different tier, and then lockdown happened.
Absolutely.
But hopefully we will get to see you soon.
Well, I expect you to work. You're not going to come down here for nothing.
Hey, I went on a rescue last time, didn't I? It's always good fun.
You still haven't made up. In fact, in all your years of working here, you haven't made up for all the alcohol you took away from me.
That was given as a gift, I thought.
No, not on the first interview. That was when you came in here legless for your interview.
No, I bought my own for that one.
Oh dear, it's a very strange place, guys. Wildlife Aid is pretty unique, to say the very least.
So for those of you who in the comments are asking who Lucy is, so Lucy was
You've no idea who she is.
For many years. As part of Wildlife SOS, our TV series, a whole lot of people on here love Lucy to bits, and we miss her greatly. She left us a few years ago. She moved on to another wildlife rescue and then moved off, travelling round the world on an RV.
On an RV?
Or in an RV.
Well, she's sitting on the top of the RV as well as giving away the hedgehogs. So she's giving away hedgehogs on the top of an RV.
Why do I still work here? Lucy, have you got any jobs available?
Nobody else would take you, Lawrie. Nobody else would employ you.
That is true. So, for those of you who don't recognise the voice, this is Lucy. You should have seen her in a lot of the videos that we've done. Certainly a lot of the Wildlife SOS series as well. And yes, she's her and her husband Sean. Sean being, I think, to date, Simon's preferred best rescuer partner as well. So,
Lawrie, I seem to remember
team.
A week or two ago you drew even with Sean, and it grieves me to say it. And Sean will probably cry now. But you have drawn even with Sean. He has shown exceptional skills, Lucy, as a rescuer. And he is.
Yeah, I have to agree. I've been so impressed watching some of his rescues recently. The way that he can read the animals, and yeah, I mean, it's remembering how he was when he was first sort of little nervous volunteer, first turning up, to how he is now.
I remember that. I was terrified of you, Lucy.
I must say, hold my hat off, whatever that saying is. Yes, that.
He has just said while you were talking, Lucy, that he was terrified of you.
Oh no.
As was I, and still am.
Yeah, I'm not as scared as I was with you.
Oh dear. So, any exciting? Have you got any 2021 insights for us?
It can't get much worse, can it?
You should never say that. That's fatal, saying that one.
I realised as I said it. No, I think the vaccine program is going to be really, really making a difference to everybody. I've got a good feeling we'll get over it this year and get in control and life will be back to almost normal. That's my crystal ball for you.
I could make so many comments to that comment, but I won't. A lot of them could get me into a lot of trouble, but it hopefully will be the answer. But I think it's going to be months and months before we get anywhere vaccinating the majority of the population here, to be honest, and we don't know what other strains we're going to get. But here's the voice of gloom talking now, because I'm a bit of a gloom and doom.
Well, I'm a big believer in positive thinking, so...
I'm positively thinking as well, Lucy. I'm positively gloomy.
Yes.
So anything else exciting? Anything, memories from your days here with us at Wildlife Aid?
Oh, goodness. That's a difficult... Well, I mean, I'll never forget the cuckoos, obviously. That was a big one for me. That's something that I'll never forget. I mean, I'll never forget working there, to be honest. And everywhere I've worked since, it's always, when I was at Wildlife Aid, blah, 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 and people must get absolutely sick of hearing it, to be honest. So it's an experience I'll never forget.
Well, I think before you get too old and lose your memory, you should just come back and refresh during the orphan season and during the summer before you go away again, just to make sure you can still do it.
Definitely see some babies again.
Yeah. And then we can have a competition between Sean and Lawrie on a rescue. And I'll sit there and mark it. That'd be really cool, actually, getting them both out on a rescue, and I'll sit back with my tick.
I resign
cross,
immediately.
Tick, cross. That'd be cool. But you're both well?
Yes, yeah, we're doing really good. We're sort of staying away from people, which is fine, and we both like that anyway, so that's not a problem for us. But yeah, no, we're coping well, considering first winter in the RV in the UK, so it's a bit of a change for us than the sunshine, but we're coping all right. So
I hope you've got the heating up high.
Yeah, higher than Lorry has his caravan heated, I think.
Absolutely. So is Sean eating anything more than chips nowadays, or are you still just on chips or nothing?
Chips, hash browns. I made him a roast dinner the other day, so full roast dinner.
Heavens above. And did he eat it, or did he just spit it out?
Ate everything, every scrap.
That's because he's scared of you as well. He doesn't admit it, but he is scared of you. We know that.
Yeah, that's the effect I have on people, I guess.
Give us a big, deep thought before we say goodbye to you, Lucy Kells, until we speak to you next time. Give us something deep as you leave us now. Off you go. The floor is yours.
Nothing like dropping me in it there, is there?
No.
Well, I mean, I have to say, it's not really a deep thought, but going on to the IDOT thing, I mean, everybody's trying to homeschool children at the moment, and this is the perfect time that they can consider getting into the IDOT thing. So I really hope that gets some momentum this year. So that's my...
It could be so brilliant if this needs, it's so hard to get anything going viral on social media, but if this one thing went viral, it could make so much difference literally to the world. It sounds a bit pretentious, but if everybody did one action, it could make a huge difference. So yeah, whether you do it, call it IDOT, call it whatever you want, do one action a day.
Yeah.
You did the first list on that, didn't you? Years ago, you did your first 100 IDOTs.
Yeah, I mean, it's been your baby for a very long time. You've wanted to get this going, so I really hope it gets noticed. And well, it's a fantastic thing for kids to be doing when they can't be at school. So it would be great to see it become bigger. So.
Do you remember what I know you did 100 IDOTs, but you actually did 101, didn't you?
Something like that. I know it was different. It was once you get going, though.
Yeah, but do you remember what the 101st IDOT was?
No, what did I...
I'll let you look it up with Sean, because I can't say it over the airwaves.
Oh, it was probably something, yeah.
It was a Seanism, definitely. It was to do with me. So we'll just leave it there, Lucy. I think that's probably safer. Lucy, honestly, great speaking to you. I hope more people who come onto the YouTube would sort of give us a phone call like this. It'd be lovely to do at least one phone call a week to somebody who's really interested in chatting to us. Please don't upset me, and please don't ask me anything I don't know the answer to. The great way of being on with Lucy is the fact if I didn't know the answer, I just say ask Lucy, because she knows the answer to everything, as does Lawrie. So Lucy, thanks so much. You take care, both of you, and I expect you down here within 8 weeks maximum. We expect you down here working quite hard.
As soon as lockdown's over.
Okay, as far as you're concerned, it's over.
I don't know if the police agree, but we'll see.
Well, we are classed as key workers, so if you're coming down to work for us, you're a key worker. I don't know what Sean is. He's a bit of a sort of add-on, really, isn't he? He's a bit of a sort of...
An add-on worker.
Yeah, a little bit sort of questionable, but we're probably having along for the ride. Right, I don't want to see him for a while now because he's going to hit me if I see him too soon. Lucy, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Really great to have you on with us. And love to everyone that end as well. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That, ladies and gentlemen, was Lucy Kells, late of Wildlife Aid.
So hopefully, as and when things become a lot more available and obviously within government guidelines and legal restrictions, hopefully we can have Lucy on live, but we'll see. But all the best to you both, Lucy and Sean. We've had a few questions that have come in over the past couple of minutes, so we'll try and get through as many of those as we can. If you do have a question for either Simon or myself or anyone else, please leave it in the comments, either on Facebook or on YouTube. We are monitoring both, and we'll try and get through all we can. So Robert has just asked, as orphan season isn't far away, how many fox cubs do you really expect to have in a year?
I've got a figure in my head, Lawrie. Tell me your figure. And in fact, just to show I'm not cheating, I'm going to write down a number now, and you can tell me what you think. I've written my number down.
So certainly in 2020, in terms of the number of even just orphaned fox cubs, and that's not including the ones that we've been out to rescue, was close to 50. And there are just independent ones that come in. So I think it's going to be the same as that, or even greater. We're seeing much larger figures each year with our orphans. And I think this year is going to be no exception, especially as a lot more people are at home. They're disturbing animals or finding animals that need help. So I do think it's going to be a lot bigger than that. So it'll be interesting to see what your figure is.
Well, all we wanted, Lawrie, was an answer, really. And you know, you can't... Laurie's answers are always 15 sentences rather than a number. What was your number, Lawrie? Just the number. Just tell me now.
45. There you go. 65. He's gone the other way. Yeah.
Sorry, do you want to rephrase that, Lawrie? Are you happy with that answer?
Child.
Okay, what else should we talk about? So we're going to see lots of fox cubs. We're going to see, hopefully, quite a few badger cubs, not too many. It's a double-edged sword for us, because although I don't want to see them because I want them to be in the wild, when we do get them, at least we know they stand a very, very, very good chance of getting back out to the wild in a healthy state when they're adult. It's rather like ducklings. We get hundreds and hundreds of ducklings a year, and it's always quite sad to get them all, but the difference is when a duck has ducklings in the wild, she's lucky to get 2 or 3 through to maturity. When we get 12 ducklings in, we're going to get about 11 and a half through, and that's not to say because it's half a duckling, but we're going to get between 11 and 12 through. We lose very few. They do very well, but it's sad they have to come in with us, but we can give them a good start, and it just, I suppose, replenishes nature, which is a big word for me this time of night, Lawrie.
So Byron has just asked, do you ever rescue animals who would die of natural conditions, or is it only in situations where they're dying because of man?
We rescue anything. If we're called to go out to a rescue, we will go out. There are exceptions. Every rescue we do is different. So every rescue we get a call about, we think about it. There's lots of criteria we take into account. So if something was dying of old age and was sort of crawling around the ground, yes, we would bring it in, because we can actually give that a much more peaceful, calm and nicer death, if you like. I mean, with something when it's lost all its teeth and it's gone blind and it's struggling, it's not getting enough food, it's dying of starvation, we can actually do for that animal, which we think is a great gift, and that's let it go there and then. There was we had an instance a few years ago, and I will never forget it. We had a fox that had about 6 or 7 young. One of the young was obviously the runt of the litter. It was the small one, and the woman said, will you come and get it? And we didn't. I still fight with myself about that one now, because that is nature. She was with her babies, she was feeding her babies. One was a runt, it wasn't doing very well at all. We saw the videos, and we didn't interfere, and in fact it had died within 24 hours, so even if we had have taken it in, it wouldn't have made it anyway. We try so hard not to interfere with nature. We just try to interfere with the damage that man does to nature. So, but every rescue we get, every case we get, is its own case. It is taken on its own merits and its own situation and all the conditions around it. So it's a very complicated equation that we look to every animal we do.
Yeah. But I'd probably say 99% of the things we deal with are directly or indirectly caused by humans. It's very, very rare that we have... occasionally with badgers you'll get territorial wounds and things like that, but the vast majority of the things that we deal with are animals getting stuck in human-made structures or crashing into buildings or getting lost in human-made areas, being poisoned. All of this relates to us. And I think you'd probably agree, about 99% of the things we deal with are man-made, really. And unfortunately, a lot of those could be avoided. So.
They could. Any more questions come in? So that was one question which you took about half an hour on. Give me another question with a quick answer.
A few people have asked, have you ever had a wildcat in at the centre?
Sadly not. We've had lots of wild volunteers and lots of wild members of the public, but never a wildcat. Not down this part of the world that we know of.
No, they're mostly in Scotland. I think there's only about 50 of them, of the purebred ones, left in the wild. They're one of the rarest species on the planet.
It's rather like Lawrie, really. Rather like Lawrie. He's quite rare.
AJG has asked, do you treat all of the foxes you bring in for fleas and ticks?
Yes, we do. You don't have to, but obviously when an animal comes in with any sort of burden of any parasites, we need to know what it is. A, because we don't want it to spread it all around the centre, and B, we want to give them the most healthy chance to go out. But we only do it because, you know, they're near other animals. They would spread it, they would move it around. We want to give them the best chance going out. Animals, wild animals, always have a parasite burden. If you released a hedgehog today, if you picked it up in 6 months' time, it would probably be lots of ticks on it again. That's all part of nature's cycle. So yes, we do, but really because we don't want it to spread like wildfire all through the centre, so we have to be very careful.
Shrunkala AV has just said, I'm very new to this channel. Welcome, hello, thank you very much for the support. Don't know much about it, but would love to be in a part of the live stream. So hello and welcome. If you do have a comment or a question, please leave it in the chat and we'll try and get to it as much as we possibly can. Samantha has asked, what way can people help mangy foxes?
Okay, this is going to be controversial. First, I'm going to say, if you do want to be part of the live stream chat and you want to come on to us, please just drop media@wildlifeaid.org.uk an email. They'll need all your contact details, they'll need your phone number, they'll need to ring you up to see what we're going to chat about. So all that has to go on before we get live. The question was about mangy foxes. Do we treat mangy foxes? Was that the question?
It's how can mangy foxes be treated?
Several ways. I mean, my belief, and it's probably getting me into a load of trouble now, I can feel a load of trouble building on my shoulders. Foxes often struggle with mange because their diet's not good enough. So if actually, and I don't advocate feeding wild animals in the wild all the time, wild animals have to find their own food, but if something's really bad and it's got mange, a few days of healthy diet will probably work miracles for it. There are treatments you can give in the food. And if somebody gets really bad mange, there are treatments we can use here. But some of the treatments here, I mean, there's one of the treatments which is probably the best ones, is a pill. It's a one-off pill, but I mean, they are £17 each. And that's not to say we don't use them, because we do all the time. But it's quite an expensive thing to do. But we just want to get that animal out in its best possible state. So that's how we treat mangy foxes.
Those are also exclusive to veterinary practices.
Yeah,
so
you can't go and buy those.
It has to be done by a wildlife rescue or a veterinary practice. You can't just go and buy those, and you shouldn't. Even if there are places where you can get hold of these, they do. They're dosed depending on the weight of the animal. If you don't know that, you can go very, very badly wrong. So please, if you do that, contact a wildlife rescue, and they'll give you the best possible advice.
You can't buy them in shops anyway. You have to buy it from a vet practice, and the vet practice, if it's doing the right thing, would not give you the pill unless they knew you very well or knew what you were going to give it to. So be careful, guys. But yes, there are treatments for mange, but I think a lot of it is to do with diet. And remember, it's never the mange that kills the animal. It's all the secondary infections. You know, the wound, the skin gets sore, it gets infected. That's what actually ends up killing the animal. So it just needs its strength. It needs to be at fighting fit to get itself well. There's a very old woman on here who's just given us £25.
That's not nice.
She is incredibly old, incredibly senior. The one good thing about this lady is that she is so old, she forgets how much she gives us. When she looks at a bank statement next month, she's going to be terrified that she's given us so much. Mara, love you lots. Hope to see you back here soon. If you could see the pile on my desk of all my unanswered correspondence, it's quite scary. Now, if I twist this round, Lawrie, everybody's going to get a quick look at my desk, which will scare them more stupid.
No.
But look, this is
your eyes.
This is my desk, guys. This is the sort of mess of my desk. I hope I'm not showing you anything I shouldn't do, but that's my unanswered correspondence file, along with my mobile phones and everything else as well. So there you are. Now, if I can get this back in the right place, that would really be helpful, wouldn't it?
We were going through some of the papers on Simon's desk at one point, and I think it was last year we found a piece of paper from 2004, and I would swear that there are older pieces of paper in there. So for context, in 2004 I was 11.
There is actually something from there, Lawrie, in 1889 when I invented the wheel. So that is in my pile. You know, I haven't ever registered the patent. I haven't registered the patent yet. That's the trouble.
You're missing out. You could fund the new centre at that point.
Any other questions coming out from your side of the building?
A few people have asked, what do we do with all the poo?
With all the poo?
So we get through a lot of poo. Most people are asking about hedgehog poo. You would love a way to market this.
Yeah, I mean, we have hedgehogs will eat about 7 tons of food while they're with us over the winter. If we get 200 or 300 in, 7 tons of hedgehog poo. If I could find a way of marketing that as a face mask or as anything, I'd be delighted, because we make a fortune. So yes, 7 tons in. We've got to be what, 6.9 tons out, I reckon, in hedgehogs. They're a bit prolific on the old poo front. And obviously 7 tons of food costs us an awful lot of money. But hedgehogs are worth it, unlike Lorry.
Luckily we have regular waste collections are there, so all solar bedding is taken away and properly disposed of normally, so that's where all that ends up. Few people have asked, actually, have we ever dealt with a golden eagle?
Yeah, we have.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I went out to Golden Eagle. It was before your time, certainly, probably quite a lot before your time. These people rang up, so we've got an old Golden Eagle. It's sitting on the top of a telegraph post in our garden. And we were all very excited, because in those days, you know, nowadays we're quite savvy. We know what we're going out to, because we asked them to send us a picture or a video, and this was really before those days when you could do that so easily. It's so useful to us. It saves us having to go out so much, not because we don't want to go out, but we can diagnose and treat things, or look whether the situation needs an animal to come in. So they didn't send us a picture. If they had have done, you would have seen a picture of a very, very pretty little gosling sitting on top of a telegraph pole. It was yellow, it was golden, it was yellow coloured. That it had webbed feet. They didn't seem to quite understand that golden eagles don't have webbed feet. So that was the only golden eagle I dealt with. But it was quite exciting at the time.
We've had a few calls to eagles, actually. I know a few from the police about an eagle on the side of the M25 that was a buzzard. I think we got an eagle that turned out to be a young pigeon.
We do get them all. We do get them all. I mean, some of our calls actually are very funny. I wish we had time to actually do a book or something, or a coffee table book with all our weird calls in it, because we do get some complete nutters. And that's not to say we're not nutty too, but some of the calls we get in are quite funny. Some of the pictures they send you saying it's one thing and it's quite obviously something else is quite amusing as well. So our receptionists have to sift through to find out what is really needed for rescue and what's not. I mean, we do go out on every rescue we have to go out on, and you know, but there is a lot of times when you can look at a picture and you know that animal's going to get better by itself, or the people who've rung it in can do one particular action and get that animal safe and get it back out to the wild without us having to intervene. So yeah, I'll shut up now, Laurie. Ask us another question.
It's on the same note, actually. I know a number of people want us to talk about a rescue that we did recently that was an example of one of those where things don't go quite to plan. And that is, of course, rescuing that wonderful bit of plastic from a rooftop.
Because I didn't go on this rescue. This was a lorry rescue. I knew far better than to go on something which was not going to go at all well. So off went Lorry and Jacob, and rather than try to down him, I'll let him down himself. Off you go, Lorry. Tell us about your rescue.
God. This lady had heard a flapping sound just outside her window over the past 2 days. Sporadic, really did sound like flapping wings. She sent through a video where you could hear the sound. Everyone was thinking, yeah, that sounds exactly like flapping wings. So we get that sort of call all the time. Usually you get there, you cut a hole and a bird comes out. So we get there, we go up, we cut a hole where we think it is, nothing. Okay, we stick the camera in, can't see anything. So we hear the flapping a bit further down. So we go, okay, there's a big beam in the way here, so we'll just move down, we'll cut another small hole, nothing. Then, of course, Jacob, after we'd sort of come down the ladder and waited for probably about half an hour with a light in each hole to see if said bird would come out, went up and the sound went off right in his ear. And it turned out it was a bit of the roofing felt that had come loose and was in the wind, was flapping against the guttering and making the exact same sound as a flapping bird. So we fixed up all of our holes. You'd never know that there was any difference, but we left that one with tails between our legs, really, and red faces.
So that's, you see, this wouldn't happen to Sean and I. This would be absolutely fine. It wouldn't happen to Sean and I. You know, just Lorry goes out, no idea what he's doing, tries to act so important. I mean, it's, you know, anyone would think that I might well go out one day and rescue a smoke alarm in a roof. That happened. That did happen. Big chirping noise in a roof. Looked everywhere, spent ages looking, and just as we came down from the roof we heard it again. I heard it too, and as soon as I heard it I knew exactly what it was, and there on the attic hatch, on the inside of the attic hatch, was a smoke alarm, and the battery was running out. And so we changed this battery for her, which I thought was very nice, but she didn't even thank us actually. She didn't thank us at all. So I said, look, there's your problem, you need a new battery. Have you got one, she said. So we put a new battery.
Probably do. We've got everything in that car.
We put a new battery in for her, and we came home thinking that was a waste of time. I mean, every rescue we do, I know people don't think about this really, but every rescue we do, if we go out with two of us for an hour, just cost, not our cost or anything else, but in fuel and running cost and everything else, probably costs at least £40. Some rescues cost double that. So every rescue we go on, we have to try and, you know, make sure it's worthwhile insofar as we need to go. We're not, you know, we don't get there. I mean, so many rescues we go on, I don't know, quite a few recently. Right? We've got halfway there and the animals escaped, or another rescue centre has turned up or something. It's so important to get it right because, you know, our time is valuable for the animals we can save, not because we're valuable. Lorry and I certainly are expendable. I'm expandable. Lorry's not so expandable because he's so thin. But yeah, it's time. So yeah, going out on rescues is what we do, and we will always do it. But sometimes we don't need to go, and sometimes we sort of know when we don't need to go. I know we've had one or two situations in the past month probably where Lorry's was looking at me oddly, why didn't we go on that rescue? And I said, just wait a minute, and lo and behold, 15 minutes later the animals either got up and gone or something's happened and we didn't need to go. It's just experience, guys. Lorry's got it pretty much to pat. He's got a little bit more to learn, but not much. He has got to have a haircut though.
I do. One of the other things we've been seeing quite a lot of at the moment is people with foxes on roofs or above large sort of drops and are worried that they're going to fall and hurt themselves. Had a lot of those recently, and we actually have a short video clip of going out to one of those just to see how much this fox can actually jump. So this is a fox that was on the roof, jumped straight to the next roof again, and straight over into that building site and around the corner.
And each of those jumps, this is the story. So there were this fox. This woman was absolutely insistent that this fox was in trouble. It wasn't going to move. We had to go out and rescue it, and it actually turned out to be two foxes. But we got there, and it was just, you know, sunbathing, probably with its girlfriend, having a nice time away from all the other foxes, and they were quite happy up there. So we went out because I was worried because there were two of them, and one was allegedly shaking. We won't ask why it was shaking. We won't go down that road just now. But yeah, so there they were. We went out. They jumped off absolutely fine. Most of those jumps were over 12 feet. So don't think a fox can't jump very far. These jumps, in fact, one jump we measured, Lorry and I, as we came out, was over 12 feet, and it was way up high. They're very nimble. But yes, that's why we always look very carefully. We will go out sometimes to one that's on a roof because the circumstances aren't right. But if somebody can send us a picture or a video or something, I mean, the times we've been out when somebody said, oh, this animal's got 4 broken legs, it can't move, it's, you know, it's had it, because we go rushing out. When you get there, it runs off with all 4 legs working perfectly. So not getting at everybody now, but just, you know, think hard, tell us what's going on first, send us a picture, send us a video. It really helps.
You'd be amazed how much they can jump. A fox can quite easily clear a 7-foot fence. Even a big roe deer or even a red deer can clear a 6-foot fence without much difficulties whatsoever. So on those ones, if you do have a cause and we just say leave it for a while, that's why, because they can jump a huge amount of space, far more than I can. A few people have asked, have we ever had a mustelid? So I suppose the most common mustelid we get is badgers.
We get
a lot of badgers.
Lorry,
I'm not a mustelid.
Lorry is our resident mustelid. No, he is. Honestly, guys, he is. He is. No, we get weasels, we get stoats, we get badgers,
We do.
obviously, which are mustelids, which people don't really realise. What other mustards have we got? Here's the
And we've
brain
had
of
an
Britain
otter.
now. Off he goes.
We've had an otter.
Brain of Britain here. Any more, Lawrie?
Well, otter. Don't you remember the otter?
That was just one. Give me some more.
Polecats, I suppose, probably into that as well. We had 3 or 4 young ones this year. I don't think we've had any pine martens or anything on there. Very occasionally we'll get a mink. Unfortunately, they are an invasive species. Luckily, a lot of the time we get those that are already
because they're the American
injured.
mink. The European mink would be fine, but
yes,
the mink
the
we
American
see down
mink,
here, the American mink, sadly,
is unfortunately a species we're actually not even allowed to treat at all. But yeah, I can't think of any other ferrets. We get the odd ferret occasionally that comes in that people think are polecats. Yeah, I remember your otter. Simon says a wonderful story about going into an otter and thinking, oh, it's a cuddly otter, we love this. And he opened the pen, went in nice and confidently. The otter screamed blue murder and jumped for his neck.
Yeah, and screamed. He screamed. I just treat it like a badger, because this is why I think with any wildlife rescue, once you've seen something done, once you've seen the expert do something, you sort of know what you can do and what you can't do. And we'd never had an otter in. So I just thought, okay, never had an otter in. We'll treat it a bit like a badger because they're a bit vicious. They can be a bit nasty. What I didn't expect is an otter. A badger would obviously run backwards and try to get away from me. This otter just took one look at me, screamed the most blood-curdling scream, and launched itself at me. I was seen coming out of that deer shed at about 500 miles an hour, which is faster than I've ever moved before in my life. And I sort of shut the door and thought, we'll approach this a different way in a minute.
By sending someone else in, probably.
They're really cute, but you know, having seen that now, you know what they do, we will know for next time. So it's always a learning curve. You know, everybody comes to me and says, you know, do you know it all? No, never will. Never will. But treat every situation you get into as a learning curve for the next time. And it's useful and it will always work.
We just had a wonderful donation from WJFC_521, who's donated £1.99. Thank you very much. And has asked, hey Simon and Lawrie, do foxes ever eat cats? No. Certainly
not
very,
I'm
very
going to correct
rarely.
that, Lawrie. I'm going to correct that because foxes get very bad press. They do eat stuff that is killed on the road or is he's killed on the road. So if a cat was killed on the road and you saw a fox with a cat in its mouth, it is probably sadly a cat that's been killed on the road, or it's a very, very old ailing cat, but even that's unlikely. I have never witnessed a fox eat a cat that's healthy. I have witnessed so many and had so many pictures sent to me of foxes and cats eating out the same bowl at night. Anything that's injured or is dead, and people sometimes bury their cats in the garden. The fox will know that and it will dig it up and it will take food as any animal would. It's all part of the food chain, which is all part of the IDOC principle, which we won't go into now because it's gone 8 o'clock and I shall get into trouble if we run on too long. But yeah, so will a fox eat a fit cat? No way. I've seen foxes run. If a cat comes to the bowl, a cat will actually chase the fox away.
Foxes are incredibly timid animals. You do see a lot of, unfortunately, in the media, fox brazenly went up and bit someone and things like that. And whilst obviously fox bites do happen, it's incredibly, incredibly rare. And 99.99999% of all foxes will not let you get within 40 metres of them. They'll be gone as soon as they smell you. And certainly with dogs or cats in the garden, every single time I've seen it, the dog or cat has won, and the fox hasn't even tried to fight, it's run. Bear in mind, any animal that lives in the wild has to also preserve itself. It can't afford to get injured and have difficulty finding food or anything like that in the future. So they'll actively avoid fights as much as possible. If they can run away, they will. The only time a wild animal will ever fight is if it's cornered or it feels that is the only way out. So,
what is it, Lawrie? What is it? What do we got, Lawrie? We've got the 3 Fs.
You're going for the 3 Fs.
Yeah, I'm going for the 3 Fs, and I hope I don't get this wrong, because it's flee, freeze, fight, in that order. So they will flee if they can. If they can't, they'll sort of freeze and think, hell's what do I do next? But if they can't, they will fight. But it is so much a last resort. So much a last resort. You shouldn't worry about it too much.
Yeah. So last couple of questions, because we do need to wrap up in the next couple of minutes. So thank you so much for all the questions that have been coming in. Gabriel, have you ever rescued a puffin or a red squirrel?
I've been and seen puffins, and I have worked with puffins. I've never actually had to physically rescue one because it needed rescuing, but I have been. I love puffins. Beautiful things. No, so I have rescued either. No, I haven't. I've seen both. Seen red squirrels on the Isle of Wight and on Brownsea, but even they're hard to find. So they're not that not that common, red squirrels down this.
Yeah, we don't get them in this area. So.
Which is why we get greys. You know, we don't. You know, greys aren't causing the reds to go, but that's a whole nother live stream. We won't get into that now. But no, the answer is no. That should have been a short answer. I gave a Lorry answer then. Very long-winded for an answer. No.
So Robert has asked, I've seen the video clip of your new-to-be wildlife centre that's going to be half a mile down the road from where you're based. I think it's going to be really, really interesting. When are you expected to have work starting?
When you win the lottery, we'll start work. No, seriously, guys. In all seriousness, work has started. We have enough money in our bank balance now to build the wetlands. So in order to build the wetlands, we've got to build the entrance road, and the wetlands will be done, providing we don't get Noah-type floods this year. The wetlands will be done this year because they will take 5 years to mature. So the wetlands have got to come first for many reasons. So we have started, and that will take $1 million, which is all the reserve funds we have. So if anybody wins a lottery tomorrow, please give me a ring. You've no idea how nice I'll be to you if you win the lottery tomorrow. It's going to be about a £6.5 million project, £6.5 million, but it will be the most amazing centre. It is just Wildlife Aid got bigger. It is the new Wildlife Aid Centre. It will spend much more time on teaching, on education, on all the other things, but the soul and the heart of Wildlife Aid will always be the fact that we rescue animals. This is what we do, and that is the reason we do what we do, and allows us to do all the other work as well, the educational work, the environmental work, because it's all very well saving animals. Somebody said to me, well, why do you care about the environment? Why do you care about education? Because there's no point in us saving all the wild animals if they've got no habitat to go back to, and they need habitat that's safe, that will stand the test of time, if you like. So we need to protect habitat as much as we need to protect the animals. So we will save the animals, but we also need to make sure that they have habitat to go back to. So that's why IDOT's important. We only have one planet. It's the planet that supports us. We don't support the planet. And everybody's so keen on protecting all the big special feature, all the lions and the tigers and the elephants, all the big animals. They all rely on an intact food chain. And Lawrie really wishes he hadn't answered that question, because I can now go on for about an hour. So the food chain,
like food chains.
Every animal eats everything else, and we are the apex of that food chain, and we're actually the only invasive species now. We're just ruining it. So we need to try to get working. We need to get people to do IDOT. We need to protect the planet, and we need this new centre not only so we can do more wildlife work, but also help people understand why, inspire them to take up our challenge of protecting the planet. That, in a nutshell, is what I could spend 4.5 hours talking about. I'll shut up right now, Lorrie, while the going's good.
So thank you so much for everyone who has left comments, especially those of you who've donated as well. I'm sorry if we haven't managed to get to all of you, but thank you so much. As we say every time, we're not government funded. We rely entirely on the generosity of people like you guys to stay open. The centre costs almost £500,000 a year just to stay open. So we are incredibly grateful for all of your generosity. And thank you, as always, for tuning into this, for listening to Simon and I waffle on about random stuff for over an hour. And the next one in this will be about 2 weeks' time. We're going to try and stick with the 2 weeks, if that is okay. If you do have any issues, you want that to be a 4 weeks or anything like that, let us know. We always need your input. And in terms of the final word, I will give that over to you, Mr. Cow.
Well, I'm going to say here, because I've just seen, I've got to get up to it now, because I do cast my eyes over what's going through, and it says somewhere just up above us, I don't hate being nice to Lorrie. It really upsets me when I have to be nice to Lorrie publicly. Simon, would you prefer someone else other than Lorrie? Looking straight down the lens, guys, with a straight face. He is incredible. He's learnt so much. He's brilliant, so the answer is no.
I'm very lucky.
Sign us
I've
off,
been given
Lawrie.
an opportunity. There are many others here that do what we do. So thank you so much to everyone for all of your questions, all of your input. A lot of people are saying keep it at 2 weeks, so we shall do that for the time being. If you've got any other issues, let us know. We're always looking for things to do as well. So I think it's goodbye from both of us. Thank you very much for watching. Happy New Year, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.